and welcome to another episode of Coffee with a Kick. I'm introing this one like a radio reporter from 1938. I guess that's still in the midst of the Great Depression, right? It doesn't really end until World War II starts. I don't know. Not my forte, history of that era. Anyways, no idea what that's supposed to lead us into, except for soccer, obviously.
There was soccer in 1938. At one point in the World War, they stopped the war to play soccer. So
I think that was World War One. You talking about the Christmas story?
It was a World War.
Doesn't really matter which one. In France somewhere, the British and the Germans stopped to have a Christmas day. Either way, it's a fun story. In World War One, you need a fun story because it's mostly just literal slog through. Yeah. This is off the rails, obviously. But we're going to, just like in World War One, we're going to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, the Roaring 20s are coming. And honestly, I would love to hear your thoughts on the news of one of your key Wolves players transitioning to Manchester City. Matheus Nunes.
Oh,
is that how you say his name?
I don't know who you're talking about. What? I don't follow transfer news. You taking my boys?
Nunes is moving to Man City.
I thought you guys were going to try to take Eze from Crystal Palace.
We're probably doing that too. You know that we like to poach the best players from every team.
Yeah, I know, but usually it's from like the ones that are, well, the ones that are getting relegated. Yeah, okay, fine. Great, awesome, thanks. Let me change all of my predictions now. I'm not going to, because it hasn't happened yet. Will it have happened by the time this game starts? Quite possibly. But we'll go ahead and just hop right into this weekend for later today, obviously. Friday the 1st of September with Lutontown and West Ham. Lutontown and West Ham. The question is, does Luton have a shot? Their first home match.
If you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have said Luton might take this. I think Luton has a shot to score. Do they win? Absolutely not. It'll be 4-1. Quick prediction.
Wow, 4-1. I have it with I have them not scoring. I have it 2-0 for West Ham. But 4-1 could very easily happen. West Ham looks pretty good. I mean, they've scored. It's strange their season thus far because they struggled against Bournemouth and got a draw out of it, but then they hammered Chelsea and Brighton. So
they are the Hammers, so it makes sense.
They are the Hammers. But yeah, I think that Luton Town, regardless of it being their first home match, glad to see they finally got their their media section in working order. Doing better than Vanderbilt University, by the way, for their football stadium. Just to throw some shade.
Yeah, it's, West Ham is a very classic David Moyes team. They perform when they want to, and they don't perform when they want to. You just never know. But I think Luton just is that bad.
Yeah, they have not impressed at all. I didn't expect them to. But we'll leave them on later today for their 3 p.m. Eastern time matchup. And we'll move over to Saturday, the 2nd, with the early match being Sheffield United hosting Everton. I think Everton figures it out. They've had a lot of good opportunities. Haven't scored this season, which is shocking because they've had lots of good chances. I think they figured it out in this one. I think they figured out Sheffield United. They show that they can score, but I think that Everton, like I said, finally figures it out and gets at least one goal. In fact, I think they get 3. I have it 1-3 for Everton.
Wow. I mean, maybe if Carlo Ancelotti was their manager, I'd be going 3-1. But Sean Dyche has never been one for the goals. I think they score as well, but I think it's a 1-1 draw across the board. I think United will score first. Everton will come back in the second half, get a goal. I think it'll just be a duel between two teams that are trying to attack but aren't really good at it. So,
it's quite possibly, but I think Everton figures it out a little bit more than we do, obviously. Later on in one of the set of four matches at 10, we've got Brentford and Bournemouth. at Brentford's G-Tech Community Stadium. I think that Brentford has shown that they are a pretty quality side this year. They could have done better in their match against Crystal Palace, but their draw against Tottenham looks very good. Their 3-0 stomping of Fulham looks really good at this point. So I've got it continuing on with that manner, and it'd be a 3-0 thumping by Brentford over Bournemouth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bournemouth hasn't shown me a lot this season so far. They've had like flashes, but yeah, I think Brentford takes it 2-1. I think Bournemouth gets a goal ultimately at the end, but I think Brentford take an early lead and kind of maintain it throughout the match.
Yeah. I think that the Bees have got it. I think the Bees have got it this year. We move on to Burnley and Tottenham. Looking at Burnley's season this far, they've had a tough go of it their first 4 matches. Newcastle United, Manchester City, Villa, who are a pretty quality side so far this year, and now Spurs. I mean, you're running through people who are fighting for the top of the table there. And the record shows, unfortunately, and I think it will continue to show here. I think that Spurs are coming off some good results, obviously. I mean, they really handled the 2-0 victory over Bournemouth. I think that they win this one 4-1, Tottenham.
Wow.
I'm
going to disagree with you.
I have them finish second this season, so I have to keep picking them to win.
Now, you may have gotten more predictions right and spot on. So naturally, I'm going to disagree with you in my hopes that I begin to get that luck. I think Burnley come out of the gate feeling pretty inspired. I think they've been embarrassed. I think company can rouse them. I think they end up winning 2-1.
That would be shocking. That would be a great result for them at Turf Moor. Yeah, at Turf Moor.
I don't think Tottenham they're Tottenham.
It's Tottenham.
I don't think they're like that consistent yet. They could prove me wrong, but I think this is kind of a trap game for them. And I think Burnley, because, the expectation is Burnley stinks. Tottenham, we're good. I think it's just one of those games that Tottenham could get trapped in.
I just realized as well that Tottenham, they've been all home so far this season. This is their fourth home match, which is not great when you're already at the bottom of the table. I mean, that means you're going to be the proportion of away matches there later in the season is just going to go up exponentially every time that you go on. And that's going to make a tough relegation challenge already tougher. Sorry, what did you just say? What was your prediction? I forgot to write it down.
2-1 Burnley.
Oh, I did write it down. When did I do that? I don't know. All right. We'll move on to Stamford Bridge, Chelsea and Nottingham Forest. What is it? The Foresters? I don't know what they call. What's their mascot name? I don't know. Do the Foresters pull it out? They've had some up and down so far this season. I mean, obviously their poor management of their lead last match against United is going to stick in their memory. But I actually had this one going 2-2. I got this one going 2-2.
I like Nottingham. They seem to be wanting to score some goals this year. And I don't know. I think Chelsea is still in that rebuild phase. I think Pochettino's trying to figure it out. So I'm predicting Nottingham 3-2.
Nottingham 3-2, really? Looking at their recent history, actually, they've drawn their most recent 2 engagements. So that'll be both times last season they drew 1-1 and 2-2 at the home and away there. So we'll see if the streak continues or if your 2-3, 3-2, 2-3 prediction holds. Now we move on to the Etihad with Man City hosting Fulham. Top of the table, obviously Man City with their full 9 points. Can they keep it up against Fulham? What say you?
I'm going to put my bias aside here. I'll put it aside. I'll put my City fandom aside, and I'll bring it back in, and I'll say that they slaughter them.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's going to be 5-0.
5-0?
Maybe 5-1. Maybe they sneak in a penalty or some fluke goal. But I think
I'm going to make
City
you pin
will
that
be
down.
rested. I think they'll be excited. So I don't know. We haven't had a big game yet. I think this will be a big game for us. I'll go 5-0. I'll be bold.
5-0. I've got it 4-0. I think Fulham may very well be able to sneak some in here because they did look pretty good against Arsenal in their last match.
Right.
But prior to that, I mean, they got manhandled by Brentford and they managed to beat Everton because I thought that Everton played better than they did in that first match of the season. But I think that City will keep on rolling, going to this international break with their heads held high. They underperformed against Sheffield United for sure. Managed to get that win against Newcastle, but I think that they need a good result here to kind of keep up the momentum for the rest of the season, for going through this break. All right, and then to the primetime match, 12:30, Brighton. Again, at the Amex against Newcastle United. Newcastle surprisingly only on 3 points so far this season. They've had not the easiest opponents. However, as we covered in horrific detail in the last episode, their just total botching of the match against Liverpool. Do they get some revenge in this match? What do you say?
I think this match will be the highest scoring match of the season. I'm going 5-4.
Wow.
Brighton win. Both teams, Newcastle's defense has been shoddy at times. Last year it was like City and then Newcastle, really good defense. This year it seems like Newcastle doesn't have the same vigor. And I think Brighton wants to score, Newcastle wants to score. I'm going 5-4 Brighton. Mainly because I believe it's at Brighton.
Yeah.
So
they just got embarrassed against West Ham last weekend.
So I think Brighton ends up 89th minute winner, 5-4.
Very exciting.
If I get that spot on, I am going to be pretty happy.
I mean if you bet that scoreline, that exact scoreline, and it hits, that would be a major payout. I'm not saying that you should do it. I have something actually rather similar. I have a 3-3 draw between the two, a really exciting match, a really intense match, because both these teams have shown that they can really score. I mean, Newcastle putting in a 5-1 victory in their first match, and Brighton's hung 4 on 2 teams. Granted, it was Luton Town and my Wolves, but still, 4 goals is 4
You're
goals.
hanging them up, though.
Yeah, you've got your plus 4 goal difference because of the West Ham game. But I think that we could see a lot of fireworks in this one, which is surprising because Newcastle last season they were more like grinded out sort of style, and this one I do think that they could definitely hang some goals up on there. But yeah, 5-4. That would be something. That would be something to watch. In fact, I would recommend watching it. All right, going on to the triad of Sunday matches here. Starting off with at Selhurst Park in London. Crystal Palace hosting my Wolves. I've got it 2-2. I'll just go straight on. I've got it 2-2. I think that we get our goal difference up to 1 goal per game. Feel real good about that. And I feel like Palace, it'll be a good result for both teams, really. A 2-2 draw, show that they have some venom on offense. Because Crystal, we're actually both averaging the same amount. They have 2 goals so far this season. We have 2 goals so far this season. And neither of us are very good. So 2-2 is what I've got.
I think both teams are similar. And I hate to say it for you, but I think Crystal Palace takes it 3-1. I think at Selhurst Park, they have a little bit more firepower up front with Nunez now seemingly transitioning to the baby blue of Manchester. I think 3-1, O'Neill's still trying to figure it out. I think ultimately he does at some point, but not this week.
Maybe Cunha and the really tall 6'5" guy that we put in and scored our header in the last one. What was his name? Kalajdzic or something like that? Maybe they can have some really good chemistry going forward if you're taking Nunez.
We will see.
Double crossed fingers, man. I'll 3-1. I can certainly see that. I mean, it'll be actually a little bit shocking from Crystal because they only have 2 goals thus far this season. But we'll see what happens. Next up is going up to Liverpool and Anfield. Liverpool hosting Aston Villa. This one I think could have some fireworks, but I didn't pick it that way. I have it as a 2-1 victory for Villa because I need, you know what I need? I need your Klopp to get fired.
Klopp out.
Get Klopp out of there.
If you haven't heard any other episodes, you'll hear it in this one and all the
Ad
ones
nauseum.
until he's out.
Ad nauseum, I'm telling you.
Next time we'll open with a sign that says #Klopp out. How about that?
I will say it every episode till it happens. I will manifest it like a Gen Zer.
If you say it for as long as he's a manager, at some point it will happen.
That is one thing about predictions. If you just keep it rolling, if you just say at some point, I won't make that joke. Anyway, go ahead with your prediction.
I have it as 3-0 Villa. Taking it at Anfield. I think they don't have Van Dijk. He's suspended because of the red card.
Good point.
Trent Alexander-Arnold has looked like a 16-year-old. And, like, besides Salah and, like, some flashy forward play here and there.
Who may be going to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I mean, Darwin Nunez. People said he was going to be better than Erling Haaland when he got signed. The jury's out on that. But I don't know. There's not been enough for me to say that, like, they're going to put up a fight. Because if a team comes at them, like Newcastle just quit going at them. And so that's kind of what happened in that game. Villa's not going to stop. They're going to get as many goals as possible. I think 3-0 Villa.
That would be, that put him right back on the hot seat. I think you could also have a little bit of a letdown in Liverpool. I mean, they put on a great effort in that match against Newcastle to come back and win that. I mean, you can't deny it. Like, they put in the effort to win it, and you kind of can imagine a little bit of a letdown in the next match, especially when Villa you can't take lightly in this season. They've looked pretty good. We're both on the same side of this. You've got a little bit more of an extreme scoreline than I do, but we will certainly see. And then, arguably the match of the week here for Sunday is Arsenal and United. Arsenal hosting United at Emirates Stadium.
Yeah, I like this one. I think it grinds to a 2-2 draw. Mm-hmm. I think Arsenal has not come out with the same confidence. Neither has Man U. Neither team's been playing amazing. Arsenal, I think, has snuck into a couple of wins.
Yeah.
So I think 2-2. Both teams play well, but it's going to be a tale of two halves. I think Arsenal takes first half. Man U takes second. That's my prediction, 2-2.
Yeah, really both these teams are coming in with not a lot under their belts. The two victories that United's beaten Nottingham Forest, not impressive. Beaten my Wolves, not impressive. And in fact, probably should have been a draw. Going back to that penalty that they didn't give us. Not one that everybody said, but...
but it was proven to be a mistake.
Admittedly a mistake. And then Arsenal, they beat Nottingham Forest also. And Crystal Palace, which is, maybe outside of relegation range, but definitely below mid-table probably at the end of the season for Crystal Palace.
Right.
And then they drew Fulham, who is, upper table, but not the greatest side. And Tottenham manhandled United in their match, really. Both these sides they're still looking to find their footing, I feel like. I've got it as actually, unfortunately, because I think that that Arsenal has shown less than United even. I have them winning 2-0 United in this one, which would be a disheartening result for Arsenal going into the international break. But I'm
okay with that. I'm okay with disheartened.
Yeah. So that's what we got coming up this weekend, and then an international break. So a little bit of a programming note for this upcoming week, Labor Day week. I don't know if anybody watches us outside of the United States, but we have this thing called Labor Day. It's a fake holiday that we made up, and people get the day off.
That is true. And some people.
Well, if the post office is off, then most people have it off, and that's what it is. It's the post office and other government workers. It's the first Monday in September for whatever reason. I'm sure there's a reason, but I don't care enough. Anyway, we won't have an episode next Tuesday to wrap up. Our wrap up will be on Friday. And then we'll have a brief episode on Tuesday, probably just kind of looking at the international matches. Maybe. Don't hold us to that Tuesday one next week. Not next week, but the week after next. Anyways, probably no one's listening anymore. So that's fine. But you got anything else before we hit on out of here?
No, I think it'll be a good weekend. Historically, it seems like a lot of big fireworks happen before international breaks.
There's also better matches this weekend. I think there's some really tasty matches. I mean, the City Fulham is going to be surprisingly, I think, interesting. The Brighton Newcastle. Well, I don't think it'll be interesting, but it's got the promises of possibly being. Brighton Newcastle, Liverpool Villa, Arsenal United. I think all of those could be really nice matches, regardless of what I had said in my previous predictions.
Just because it's a blowout doesn't mean it's still not a nice match.
That's true. Like City blowing out 5-0 for Fulham can be very exciting because it could be one of those.
When Erling Haaland scores all 5, it'll be exciting.
Definitely, and put him back in the saddle for that golden boot. You know, gotta get back up and running there, Erling, Mr. Erling.
I'm excited. Excited for match week 4.
Match week 4 coming up later today at 3:00. But until next, let me do it in the right order. So coming up for later today, go ahead and grab some coffee, watch some soccer, and we'll see you next week.